Hello, and welcome to VinTool Demo. VinTool is a powerful legacy language parser and code converter. It can modernize CHN applications as well as native COBOL systems with a high level of completeness and accuracy. This video demonstrates several important features of VinTool. Let's jump right in. What you see here is the gen code as seen in the toolset. If you print it out as a text file, you should get a file that looks something like this. This is a simple text file that's been printed out of the toolset. VinTool simply takes this plain text file, parses it, and generates clean and readable Java code that is almost exact copy of the original code. In this demo, I'm going to do four things. First, take some text files like this and convert them into Java code. And number two, we're going to compare the original code with the generated Java code. And number three, run the Java code. Number four, see the execution of the Java code line by line. The interface of VinTool is pretty simple. You just select the file that you want to convert, and you select what kind of artifact that is. This is common action block, online p-step, batch p-step, server p-step, or client p-step. This one I know it is an action block, and you select the business system. Usually there will be a handful of business systems. This is used to identify the package in which the Java artifact would go in. So we have generated our first set of code. Now I'm going to do a little comparison of the generated Java code and the original gen code. I think this is where the statements actually start, right there. If you see, this is a note, and this is a move, and this is a move statement, and this is if. Here's an if block. There is an exit state right there. There is an exit state, and there's an escape statement which just gets out of the execution, and that's what it does here too. And the group views are handled. The read each statements are handled. In this case, the SQL is expanded. You might be wondering how the relationships are parsed. So before we start converting the code, the first step is to actually parse the data model and resolve all the relationships and all the foreign keys, which just takes a few days. With VinTool Suite, we have a data model application that can do that. So once you do that, with the simple text, which could read something like this. There is no relation here. Let me open a file that has a relationship. Something like this, where if you see here, desired employee belongs to the desired department. So let's take this file and convert it. So if you see here, the relationship has actually been translated to the foreign key on the table. So the other thing that has to be taken care here is the functions that the CoolGen provides. And it can be nested, it can be complex. So I'm going to show a simple action block that has some functions in it and some expressions in it, something like this. This is an action block that generates a random number from the timestamp by multiplying and adding a few things here and there. You can see that there are functions like year, microsecond, minute, timestamp, day, and there are expressions, which is like just a sequence of operators on the operands. So let me take this and try to generate the code. you see here, I think you can see the functions right there, and you can see the expressions are getting parsed very neatly and completely. I think that's one of the key things about VinTool. It does everything, and if it cannot parse a particular line, I would like to show an example of that. Especially with expressions like command equals create, it's kind of hard to determine what kind of the operation that is. So let's try to convert this and see what happens. If the VinTool cannot parse a particular line, it puts the whole line into a comment like this, and it marks it with an error. So this line is not going to compile, and we'll immediately know what to do. In this case, the solution is really simple. All we have to do is that's it. So we have seen the code conversion. We have seen how all the statements that the gen provides, like create, update, delete, read each, summarize each, the for statements, for each, the implicit group views, the explicit group views. Even we have persistent views, which can have entity actions, but can be passed into the next action block. You know, it's a part of import view, but you can still do a create or read or update on that. The lock is held on the record. So all those things are handled here, and it gives you a 100% same business logic, including the varying length fields, and some of the local views can be uninitialized. There is an option to do that here. So the next step that I'm going to show in this video is to run this code. I have here, let's take this is an online procedure step. The online procedure step would look, the screen design would look something like this. This is a CACS screen design, and it basically lists all the employees you can add, you can update, you can delete. Let's just see how the code looks once you modernize, right? So this is the modernized swing window. Now this is just one option. You can have JSP pages, or you can have anything, as long as we have handled all the commands, and the procedure step has become just an object, so that can be used anywhere. If it can be wrapped into a JSF or a JSP, or it can be incorporated into Spring Framework, and so on and so forth. Here I'm going to just press enter, and I got all the data here. And if you compare it with the screen here, you can see how close it is to the original one. If you want, we can also do a legacy mode. It just makes everything black and green. We can have we can directly use the function keys, like the F1, F2, F3. You don't have to click these buttons. So every single field on the screen has a key event listener, and that listens to all the function keys. The screen part of the code is about 70% automated. The procedure step and the action blocks are close to 98% automated code conversion. So that's simply running an online procedure step. And I would also like to show how to run a batch. We have a batch report here. This is simply there is an external action block which simply gets generated with an external call, and that has to be overridden by and the external code has to be written by manually. So this is one part that manual code has to be done. So this procedure step, this is a batch one, and it's going to write a file. It'll read the employees from a table, and it tries to write the details of the employees. So let me run this. To run this, we have to provide the batch procedure step with a context. The context is basically what kind of connection you're going to use. First thing is the database connection. If this is going to be run under a web server like WebLogic or Tomcat, you're going to have a context. You're going to have a pooled connection, pooled database. And then for a batch procedure step, we have to provide any DD names that might have been in the JCL. So in this case, there is an employee report. Probably, this is just a simulated demonstration code, but we can imagine there will be a DD name in the JCL, and we can set the file to any name we want. Online demo.txt, and let's see, demo app. I hope I have that folder there. Demo app, test files. There's nothing there. Okay, so I'm going to just run this. It's done. It's demo underscore app. Sorry about that. Let's just run it. So I have a file here that was just generated by it was created by the Java code that was generated from the text file of the procedure step. So the next step that I'm going to show you is how do you trace, how do you go line by line into the execution. Let's start with this. This is a window, and it's got all the JText fields, and this is where the actual execution starts. So I'm going to put a breakpoint. How do you put a breakpoint? You just simply click on the left hand side, and that's adding a breakpoint. Then you can simply say debug file. That's it. There's no need for generating in trace and putting it in a special library or anything. It just starts up, and I'm going to press enter, and the code is simply waiting there. And I think my command is enter. I'm going to go in. To go inside the execution, it's F7, and just go over it is F8. There I am trying to execute each one, and that's a for statement. You can also skip right to a particular point using F4. These are all standard features in Java. Once you convert your code to Java, you can see how much memory it takes. You can see you can debug at a very fine-grained level. You can optimize it. You can just simply edit this code and just put a display, or this is absolutely flexible. So here what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly show how it goes through the list employees, this is an action block, and it is trying to set the imports and exports, and this is where it actually executes the action block. So I'm getting into the action block, ABA list employees, and here is a SQL, and here is a read statement, and this is where the read actually occurs, and this should have gone into this entity view, and you can actually see what is the values right there. So this is how you trace the application, which is far simpler than what is usually done with Gen. And you can continue with the execution, and we get the results back here. So I'm going to close it, and the debugging stops. So this concludes my demonstration of the VinTool. I hope you liked it, and thank you for your time. For more information, please check out goansys.com. Thank you.